It's no denying that Wuthering Waves is one of the best gacha games on the market. Kuro is constantly raising the bar in its presentation and quality, that its complacent competitors can only respond with token efforts. Wuthering Waves is something special, and it's enjoying the height of its popularity now that everyone is getting into the game, especially after the Cyberpunk collab. However, there's something dark underneath the surface, something that is slowly destroying the enjoyment of the game and could completely kill the momentum that Kuro is riding. And that's the power creep in HP inflation affecting the game's endgame modes, the Tower of Adversity, Whimpering Wastes, and End State Matrix. These modes are the backbone of Wuthering Waves' meta, and slowly but surely the requirements to clear them have become stricter and stricter. Now, I'm not the best player in the world. I am ass at this game, but even I can clear regularly. However, lately, the community has noticed more tailored buffs, less generalist options, annoying bosses, and of course, HP inflation. Before we dive deeper, greetings, I'm Seraphor. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you'll consider subscribing. And if you're not new, welcome back. Let's discuss WuWa's growing endgame problem. I'll be mostly talking about the Tower of Adversity's Hazard Tower and Whimpering Waste's Infinite Torrents, the sources of the absurd HP inflation. But I keep mentioning HP inflation. But what is it really? HP inflation is a method game developers use to artificially increase the difficulty of a game. It is an exponential increase in enemy HP, sometimes doubling or tripling across a patch cycle. This is common in MMOs with vertical progression like Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. Players get better gear, they learn their classes better, they understand fight design and optimize strategies. Here, HP inflation is necessary to accommodate for the gear grind and still provide players with content that will last. In gacha games, almost always, the reason for HP inflation is related to getting players to pull for the newest units. Most gachas lack a vertical progression system, especially if they're RPGs. In fact, the characters you pull for are the vertical progress that you must strive to obtain in order to keep up. Or you can spend your currency on collecting copies of your favorite characters in order to increase their damage or provide the necessary quality of life needed to extend their longevity. Another reason for HP inflation is because the developers release a character so strong that the meta is worked around them. A must-pull who completely breaks the game balance that came before, and now every piece of future content must accommodate for this character's existence. This example of HP inflation also coincides with power creep, and this can happen intentionally or unintentionally. In a game's first year, this is usually unintentional. A mistake made from not having the experience or knowing how encounter design is going to evolve. Wuthering Waves, from 1.0 to 2.0, didn't have substantial HP inflation. HP inflation happened, of course, but it wasn't at the level we're experiencing now. Take a look at this chart here. This is a great look into WuWa's history with HP inflation, going from 1.0 till today. As you can see, before 3.0, the HP was on a steady climb, with the occasional spike here and there, but nothing crazy. Even back then, we had shitty TOA buffs and WuWa tokens, but you could still use off-meta teams to get comfortable results. Not only that, but Kuro went the extra mile in 2.0 by releasing new 4-cost echoes for our favorite 1.x units to help with their longevity. It gave people the idea that there'd be some level of vertical progression in the game, where new echoes for older sets would become available over time, allowing older characters to be competitive with their contemporaries. This was fantastic game design. People who invested time and money in the older characters would have their investments returned with new toys to play with. and it shored up the older characters' weaknesses, allowing them better access to their preferred damage types and easier rotations without the clunky echo uses of the past. But everything changed in 3.0. Hell, I'd say the changes happened earlier when the 1.x characters stopped showing up in reruns. It was all 2.x onward after the first anniversary, and as of now, it has been more than a year since a 1.x character has had a rerun. That was the prelude for the situation we find ourselves in now. Fast forward to 3.4, and now both the TOA and Wuthering Waves are in sorry states. HP inflation has run rampant. Buffs are more and more character specific, to the point where I don't even understand why Kuro even bothers saying inflicting glacio chafe grants defense ignore, or whatever. Just say use Hiyuki or deal no damage. At least then people won't feel stupid. Character damage and power creep has gone through the roof as well to compensate for the HP inflation. And I fear it may get worse now that we have 6 new characters on the horizon. The HP inflation has gotten so bad that the shelf life of new releases feels shorter and shorter, especially when it comes to Cyberpunk collab characters. Out to the gate, Lucy and Rebecca's damage feels anemic, and it wouldn't be an issue if HP inflation hadn't gotten so bad. If we saw the gradual rise we had in 2.x, they feel a lot better to play, and there'd be less pressure to pull copies of them so that they can stay competitive with the 3.x roster. And when they do release overpowered demons like Sigrica or Frolova, they nerf them almost immediately by making enemies resist their attributes, hurting the characters that came before them as well. Poor Cartanica and Camellia. They've been unusable for a long time because of these two. These decisions are killing the enjoyment of Wuthering Waves for a lot of people. A lot of players came to this game initially for its combat and stayed because of the balance and the challenge. Now, challenge is being pushed aside in favor of numbers. It's less about using who you want, and now it's about using who the game tells you to use. With the HP inflation continuing to climb with no signs of slowing down, it's clear that something needs to be done about this. But what exactly? What Kuro should do is reverse these decisions. Full stop. Stop the HP inflation, scale it back, and let players breathe and use characters that they want to use. Introduce the general buffs of old back into the TOA, and bring back the general crit damage and Burning Waves tokens of WuWa. Stop creating tailor-made fights that cripple the busted characters they made, and own up to the fact that their balancing needs to be better and further scrutinized. Or, if they must have HP inflation, start buffing older characters. Don't keep their buffs exclusive to End State Matrix. Buff them everywhere else too, and make their buffs more meaningful than just do more damage. That's not going to fix GN's lack of verticality or Yinlin's coordinated attacks being enemy dependent. Or also, continue with that vertical progression idea by releasing new echoes for older characters, if buffing them directly is too much of an ask. But if Kuro doesn't do anything, if they want to continue down this path of self-destruction, then it is up to us, the players, to let them know we want no part of this. We aren't going to let them ruin this game into the ground to chase short-term profits for long-term player distrust. There are several ways to make our voices heard. Social media, the community Discord, content creators, or just contacting Kuro Games directly. Anything you do, no matter how small, will eventually snowball into something that Kuro has to take seriously. There's a reason why Kuro's been so focused on optimization lately. There's a reason why they're adding new localized languages to the game. There's a reason why they consistently improve the graphical fidelity and improving the storytelling. It's because of our feedback, because we keep demanding better, that Kuro is trying to do better in these regards. So don't think for a second that your feedback is invaluable anymore. It has been, and it will continue to be so. However, we can't keep making isolated remarks and complaining. Do you know what happened when Septimont launched and it was one of the laggiest things imaginable on certain devices? A whole bunch of players quit the game. You would see it in a lot of YouTube comments with something along the lines of, "I love Wuthering Waves, but I can't play it because Septimont is too demanding for my phone or laptop." If it comes down to it, if Kuro refuses to listen, then you have to put your money where your mouth is. Disengage from the endgame modes, disengage from pulling their new power creep toys, and if it comes down to it, disengage from the game itself. Your uninstallation is louder than your tweets. I, for one, will be doing my part as well. If I'm asked about the endgame modes in the survey, I'll make a video on it. If I get asked about the collab characters, I'll make a video. Even if you guys don't get those questions, there's still an additional comments for people to add, so don't be afraid to do so. HP inflation affects everyone who engages with the meta, so we should all do our part. Now, I get it. Sweats who live and breathe optimization are still tearing it up in the TOA. I love watching videos of Calcharo mains obliterating bosses as much as the next person. And I know a lot of players, realistically, do not care about the HP inflation. Most of WuWa's bigger content creators don't even engage with the endgame either. They'll pull a character, play the story, do a mini game or two, and log out until the next version. That's a far healthier way of engaging with the game, and I don't blame them. Life's short, and worrying about something that doesn't concern you is pointless. But even so, this topic is something that I'm passionate about because I've been around long enough to see how things like HP inflation can completely tank a video game. I don't want Wuthering Waves to become irrelevant and forgotten, like its contemporaries into space, and if we're talking about live services in general, I don't want it to have a mass exodus of players that leaves Kuro with the only option left of milking the small audience they have left for all they're worth. Because Wuthering Waves doesn't deserve such a pathetic end to its run. It deserves better. We deserve better. We deserve the best version of Wuthering Waves possible. So what do you all think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later.